I'm getting a lot of texts and feeling a lot of people panicking, and then other people saying, no, don't panic, don't panic. And I think those people are wrong. It is time to panic, okay? I'm just gonna call it like I see it. The polls are not good. Trump has the momentum. He's a nepo baby, incompetent mother who is mentally disintegrating in front of our eyes, and his voters don't seem to care. So it's gonna be up to the rest of us, sane people, to save this country, save the economy.
That was Billy Eichner, who calls himself a comedian. He has a severe case of Trump Derangement Syndrome, and he's a super spreader.
Trump is eliminating music from the Constitution. Yes.
It's people like Billy who make the rest of us not want to talk politics. Some people are afraid to even talk about current events because of people like Billy. No one wants to be screamed at or shamed for the way they vote. It drives some Republicans into the closet, especially here in cities. It's a phenomenon called the shy Trump voter. The psychotherapist who coined the term told Business Insider that being a Trump supporter can carry a social risk. Quote, for some, publicly supporting Trump could invite criticism or ostracism from friends, family, or colleagues who hold opposing views. These people fear judgment or social consequences, and this leads them to conceal their political beliefs. People may feel torn between their personal beliefs and the need to conform to social norms or expectations. This makes sense when you look at the polls. An overwhelming majority of the country thinks we're on the wrong track and say Trump's better on all the major issues. But the polls are tied. We're about to find out how many shy Trump voters are out there. Psychotherapist and author of Be Fearless, Jonathan Alpert. So, Jonathan, you've been speaking to some clients over the course of several years during the Trump administration, the Biden administration. How have the Trump derangement population of people changed over this course of time?
Well, Jesse, I'm a real clinician, so I can't use that term, but it's a thing for sure. I think we need to go back to 2016. And after Trump won the election, I had people coming into my office. They were packing their bags. They were moving to Canada. They were withdrawing their investments. And frankly, they wanted Trump dead. And I would, gently nudge and say, maybe you need to rethink that. It may not be the healthiest thinking. And maybe the very reason you should stay in this country is because you can go out there and protest in front of Trump Tower. And they didn't like it. Some people fired me. They didn't like to be confronted. But fast forward to 2024, and we're seeing the same rhetoric. After the assassination attempt in July, there were people who were disappointed that the shooter missed.
Wow.
And again, after that in Florida. So this is a real problem. And if you're at the point where you actually want a political figure dead, you probably need to check in with someone like me.
Oh, my God. So they are bloodthirsty and they have major problems. And it's scaring the heck out of the rest of the country because now people are just afraid to talk politics. What does it mean when people are projecting like this?
Well, it is, Jesse, and we have people who are afraid to come out and proudly say they're voting for Trump. They're afraid of being ostracized. One person that I work with, she's 30-something. She takes a cooking class, and the people in her class, they get around and they complain about Trump, and they just assume that she also feels the same way and is a liberal, and she's not. She supports Trump. She's a moderate, and she's just afraid to speak her mind.
And there's a lot of people out there like that, I'm sure. Why does Donald Trump terrorize the emotions of so many people just by being himself? What is it?
I think a lot of people have trouble accepting the fact that a brash businessman could defeat a highly seasoned, smart candidate back in 2016. They just were not okay with that. They never came to terms with it. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens in a week or so.
Do you expect rage and violence?
I do. I think there could very well be a liberal meltdown.
Liberal meltdown. We'll be here to cover it. Thank you so much. More prime time ahead.